Sovereign Okinec at you. This guy's probably one of the most diesel cats I've ever seen. This is what happened to the cat that ate Siegfried and Roy, dude. This is He-Man's trusty steed, the battle cat, and Cat Stevens all rolled up in a Cats the Movie tortilla shell. Now I'm telling you, brother, this guy doesn't look like much. It's just the 3-4 with Ward 2, right? But I am telling you, this guy's so much more. You got Sovereign Okinec Achu, 2 green and a white for a legendary creature cat noble. It's a 3-4 with Ward 2. Whenever this guy attacks for each creature you control with power greater than that creature's base power, put a number of +1/+1 counters on that creature equal to the difference. So a couple notes about this ability. This is an attack trigger, so before blockers are declared, before damage is done, your team is growing and getting pretty huge, dude. That's what I like to do with the Jellicles at the gym, dude. I get huge before I get thrown into combat. So this is a counters deck, right? Well, sure, but you can blast anthems as well as you want or sprinkle in overwhelming stampede type effects. Those certainly aren't bad. It's just the counters get so much support. They've gotten a wide variety of enablers in the past few years. Additionally, a bunch of the older staples got reprinted into absolute dust. So I says to myself, this guy can't be that strong. So I mocked up a little deck list for this guy, and it's wild how big stuff gets, man, and how fiddly it is keeping track of power and toughness. This design space is fun and powerful, but if you're playing in paper, or even if you're playing online, the combat step's gonna bog down while you count the counters and add them all up, just FYI. And of course you're going to sprinkle in effects like Hardened Scales, Ozolith, the Shattered Spire, which is getting up there about $5 or $6, and Kami of Whispered Hopes, one of my favorite cards. You're going to be stacking up counters left and right. And recently Branching Evolution got reprinted. This is another bonkers card that's freshly reduced to about $6 to $7 with our boy Kazlam on there. Double the number of +1 counters, that's mathematically intimidating. I mentioned pump effects, and the most efficient are power doublers like Unnatural Growth. That's what she said. This got another reprint in the last set on the bonus sheet. It's an Enchanting Tale, brother. It's Enchanting Tale of the wolf and the smaller wolf under the big wolf and the man on his back for some reason. Classic Grimm's fairy tales, dude. It's very grim. Watch out, here he comes, the old soapy sandal, dude. The Hunger Games. He's a mantis and he's a gorilla. He's all rolled into one, dude. Once this guy comes down, forget about it, man. He's a horror, just like my ex-girlfriend and her mother. Now we also want to make sure our creatures can get through. Trample is a great ability to give our creatures. It's one of my preferred evasions. It's either that or flying, dude. Trample's a great ability to give these guys, and the Dust Shell Crawler gets that done. It's a bug on a street lamp, dude. He's got a big butt, but he also has a big effect on your board. And in that same vein, we also have the Tusk Guard Captain. She's out there on the streets making sure nobody gets their dirty paws on your tusks, dude. That Outlast ability is pretty key as well. Put a little counter on this little animal. Soraka and Goreclaw. Pretty much every green deck that I do, I talk about these guys, man. They're my favorite married couple. They do a ton of work in this deck. What can I say about these two, alright? I invited them to my parents' 50th wedding anniversary, and they didn't bring a present. They ate all the fondue, and they left early. That said, I'd invite them every time because it's just fun watching them yell at each other. Thunderfoot Baloth, very efficient pump effect. I love this card. This is a true story. Guy I was in a pod with accused me of playing pay to win because this thing, he's like, oh bro, how much did that cost? Thunderfoot Baloth, I never even heard of that, dude. Jeebus, dude, come on. I was like, brother, this is 35 cents. Fits perfectly in this deck as well. And look at this beauty out there. It's more of a payoff, but modified creatures you control are going to have trample, and we're going to get +1/+1 counters on our guys. Who could forget about this guy, man? He's representing Westside Kamigawa with his neon face and his sweet hentai tentacles out there, dude. Come on, man. This card's about $10 though. They told me it was a Kodama. I told them it's not Kodama, it's Obama. We also have the Pride Malkin out there. This is a cat. That's it, man. He's just rubbing up on some guy's leg. I don't have a joke for this one, man. It's just a little kitty cat. Now you also want to include some Hydras because their power and toughness is usually 0 and they enter with counters on them. Imagine getting Okinec out on turn 3. Then you got Colonia Hydra out there on turn 4, dude. Well, if you attack with Okinec, then Colonian Hydra is an 8/8 at the end of turn and a 16/16 on turn 5 banging in. Now there are a number of Hydras that aren't really Hydras, like the Aberrant over here, dude. I saw this guy at Aldi's the other days just buying bulk hot Cheetos. This does work in a deck like this, man. I love this card. If you can get enough mana, he's ravenous too. Draw a card, buddy. And that brings us to ramp. In green decks, I go big. You want big ramp out there to get those big impactful creatures on the battlefield, and you want to pump up your X spells. Biophagus. I don't know if that's how you even say it. This guy's $11. Go figure, man. I figured this one would be expensive when it was printed back in the 40K days of last year. And you have cards like the Old Gyre Sage, classic mana dork that just goes nuts and counters decks. She's out there with her counters buddy, the Incubation Druid. 3 mana is amazing if you can get a counter on it. It's nothing to sneeze at, man. And you gotta get the ball rolling with counters, so that's why we have cards like Lenore, Autumn Sovereign. 2 green and a white for a legendary creature, Human Noble. It's a 0/4. Has Coven. At the beginning of combat on your turn, put a +1/+1 counter on up to 1 target creature you control. Then if you control 3 or more creatures with different powers, draw a card. In my limited testing, this Human Noble draws me cards and puts counters on things. I like that she's got Maleficent's hat. She's out there throwing up gang signs at the festival. I want to talk about this beautiful babe right here, the Arcus Acolyte. Green and white for a creature, Human Cleric Archer. It's a 2/2 with reach and lifelink. Has Outlast for a hybrid green-white. Each other creature you control without a +1/+1 counter on it has Outlast hybrid green-white. And she says, archery requires holding an enormous amount of tension and making it look effortless. Archery requires shooting the arrow, don't delude yourself over there. This art looks just like the girl I went to high school with, her name was Sarah. Her grandpa had this big goiter, man. Makes me appreciate iodine and table salt. Make sure you get your iodine out there, folks. This is your health minute with Better Commander. If you don't have a counter or you need a counter, there you go. Now you also want to be drawing lots of cards, man, and Kutzil from the new set with this ridiculous art by Pig Hands kind of takes the prize, buddy. Whenever 1 or more creatures you control, each with power greater than its base power, deal combat damage to a player, that's what you want to be doing. Draw a card. Your opponents can't cast spells during your turn. That first ability, your opponents can't cast spells, is bonkers, dude. It's nice gravy on this little white kitty cat. They call him Kutzil, dude. I call him Kutzil. Hunter's Prowess, 4 and a green for a sorcery. Until end of turn, target creature gets +3/+3, gains trample, and whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, draw that many cards. This is probably not the most efficient card in the world, man, but that +3/+3 becomes +6 if you slap this onto Okinec or another attacking beast. Now listen, I also want to plug a recent reprint down to about $4, the Oran Frostfang, 3 green for a snow creature snake. It's 2/6. Attacking creatures you control have Death Touch. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. I like that, dude. We have a ton of trample enablers, and trample and Death Touch is a nasty combination. Makes blocking giant creatures a lose-lose proposition. The play pattern on this guy is really nice. Check out my deck list. I'm going to link in the description if you want to. I'm not going to tell you what to do, man. You're a free agent in this world, brother. You ramp early, you get out Okinec. Hopefully he sticks around due to having Ward 2, which is pretty valuable in the early game. Then start bashing him with all those big beasts, dude. It's a fun little deck. I've got a sample deck list. I included some pricier cards. You know, I want to see what this guy could do. So the budget on that one got up to about $150. Not a terrible price for a fun deck like this, but you could get it down relatively easily if you went deeper into humans or cats or included the synergies inherent in those creature types. Anyways, brothers, enjoy all the stuff you're doing out there today. If you liked the video, subscribe to the channel, you idiot. I know you liked it. I know there's a goofy smile on your face right now, dude. You're just sitting there in your house just shaking your head. That old Nick, he's such a silly goose, man. What a chunderhead. Snicky G signing off.